What's that one cringe-inducing memory from years ago that you can't get out of your head? Trying to run away from home when I was 6 only to stop at the start of the driveway because I was always told that it was dangerous to walk on the street without an adult. My parents have this really nice photo of me, with my little backpack, standing there looking really conflicted. Me pooping in my pants in 1st grade because I thought pooping in toilets other than my own is illegal. Went for an interview and handed the person my coat when they were trying to shake my hand. Update: I did not get the job unfortunately. A few years later I went to another interview during which my stomach would not stop growling, which is one of my worst nightmares made real. Somehow got a job there lol. Farted in class during a test back in middle school. Everybody knew it was me but I was too awkward to confirm or deny it so I just acted oblivious. That fart must have been pretty awful because a bunch of classmates around me covered their noses with their shirts and the teacher cracked open a window. Just the complete awkward silence that followed the fart and the feeling of everybody staring at me in disgust still makes me shudder with cringe whenever I think about it. Edit: I've been reading countless of you guys' embarrassing and hilarious fart stories, and it feels comforting knowing I'm not cringing alone here, so thanks for that. At the end of a great job interview, shook the guy's wrist instead of his hand and held on like I meant to do it. Didn't get the job. I fell asleep in my high school history class. I was all the way in the back of the room so the teacher never noticed, until I farted in my sleep so loud that it woke me up and my head shot up and smacked against the back wall. Never heard the end of it. Edit: Holy cow, this is my first ever post on here. Thanks everyone. Edit 2. Since a couple people asked. At the time nobody really reacted, except the guy in front of me was just kind of shaking. He turned around to look at me and was laughing so hard he was crying. Also should mention my crush was 2 seats over roof. The time my internet access was shot over a weekend, so I went to work as usual on Monday, and stayed and worked all day, and only found out I'd been fired the week before when I got home. Small, very high profile business. Everyone was acting weird all day. I soft broiled myself to sleep in this memory. Edit: For all the people mentioning HR and legal technicalities, this was a very small firm. The owner was famous within the field. Think of a celebrity with a staff of 7 people. No HR, no manager. Just a small group of people glad to work there. I was there as a freelancer. In the 1st grade I moved to a new school in a small town. 2 months in I would literally lose bowel function for no apparent reason. Totally watery and intense abdominal cramps. I was shy and didn't have any friends yet. I was embarrassed and would just sit there in my own mess until the teacher noticed. This went on every day. Eventually they sent me to the principal's office and the nurse, teacher, and my parents thought I was just seeking attention. Despite packing 2 new pairs of undies and pants each day, I would still be soaked at the end of the day. Over the next 2 weeks I kept getting in trouble. I was held in from recess and had to sit in the hallway alone when I ran out of clothes for the day. I had to eat lunch alone and spent at least half of my days sitting by myself in the hallway staring at the wall. When my parents finally took me to the doctor, they found a strange intestinal infection with no cure. It eventually went away. So for 1 month in a new school I was that shy weird kid who smelled bad and couldn't participate in any activities. I graduated HS 12 years later with the same small class of students. It wasn't until my 10-year class reunion that one of my classmates, now a nurse, told me they all felt so bad for me and never brought it up because they felt like I was being abused when they saw me sitting alone in the hall in my soaked clothing. This restored my faith in how kind other kids can be. So I was having a psychological evaluation for a military school. The psychologist gave me 2 pieces of paper to draw a male and a female and name them. The male one was easy. I just have to draw myself and use my own name. I was having difficulty drawing a female and couldn't think fast, so my stupid ass drew the psychologist because she was cute. Then came the part where she started asking about the drawing. The male part went smoothly. When she asked about the name of the female, I said actually it was you, plus a smirk. Then she straight up wrote the name of the drawing, actually it was you. I still cringe about it up to now. When I was 16 I offered to take a girl I liked to the movies. I approached the ticket counter and asked for one movie ticket. Immediately realized I was an idiot, but was too embarrassed to rectify my mistake. She purchased her own ticket to the movie. Still haunts me almost 10 years later. Oh man. Some context. My best friend growing up was black. We were inseparable. We wanted to make video games together when we grew up. All that. Well, he went with me and another member of my family to the store. As we were driving, a man nearly ran into my other family member's car, and my other family member shouted, "Effing N-er." It got quiet in the car. Then my other family member said to my best friend in the back, "You're not the N-er I was talking to," as a way to apologize. I was young, but even then I knew something awful had happened. It completely changed how I looked at my other family member and how my best friend looked at my family. We stayed friends, but I had to hang out at his house since he stopped coming to mine. Couldn't blame him. Super cringy. Life changing. Edit. Yes. He is still black, and we are friendly with each other. Neither of us went into game design. And I guess it is wrong to edit the racist out of this, so it was my mother. We never really talked about it. And the only time I see her now is on holidays with my kids around. It's not forgiven, really, because it had changed the course of my childhood and more importantly my best friend's childhood. Edit 2. I'm astounded by the interest in my story. My wife and I were up late talking about it because of this, and she has prompted me to ask my mom about it. See if she even remembers it. My wife also thinks there is trauma here. Not because I heard a racial slur, but because of the damage it did to my friendship and the loss of trust in the loved one. I never looked at it beyond being a horrible moment from my childhood. She also remembers me telling the story to her when we first started dating, some 9 years ago, when we were comparing stories about how our parents ducked us up. All that being said, we both came to the conclusion that there was definitely more damage done to my best friend. Anyways, I'll update if I do talk to my mom. Edit 3. Well, I asked her. She said she doesn't remember and that was a weird time in her life because she was recently divorced and drinking a lot. But she owned it by saying, "I'm not surprised if I did say it." I left her alone after that. I think she does remember, she just doesn't want to admit. I was walking back to my car after a grocery trip and an older gentleman said hello to me as I walked past. My brain completely short-circuited and I responded with GGGGGG and quietly trailed off, averting my gaze and walking faster. Doing a practice for a play in front of a small crowd of like maybe 35-50 people when I ate my pants. Middle of my lines, I felt the wetness and had to run off stage. I kept myself locked in a room the rest of the day. I was interested in a guy but didn't know how to start a conversation with him. We were standing next to each other while preparing food for a barbecue and I just thought it was a good idea to start a conversation with. I like the feeling of touching raw meat. So for context, I went to a really sheltered Catholic high school, so didn't really know how the real world worked. My first job when I was 16 and I'm being introduced to all my co-workers. One of them named Morris, who was obviously homosexual, asked me if I was too. I wasn't but wanted to let him know I was cool with it. Again Catholic high school, and said no but I'm open-minded about it. To which he responded, "We're gonna work on that." What an awkward summer. I cringe every time. My dad caught me masturbating wearing women's lingerie when I was 15. Doing a promposal for a girl who broke up with me 2 days after. Or, 3rd grade spelling bee. I misspelled field and lost it on stage. When I was 16 I got set up with a family friend's daughter. We started dating in a long distance relationship. After a month or so it was school holidays and I went up to visit her. I didn't have a lot of money but I wanted to buy her a gift. I settled on a beautiful jigsaw puzzle. She wasn't too happy about the gift because she was blind. Yes, I bought my blind girlfriend a jigsaw puzzle. In the moment it seemed very appropriate because each piece was unique, right? She can feel the pieces, right? Pure effing cringe. Still haunts me. Edit. Thanks for the silver. We weren't allowed to sleep with our doors shut. I woke up earlier than everyone else most days and on this day decided to rub one out before everyone woke up. Grabbed the lotion. Put it under my second pillow all smooth like so no one would see it if they walked by. About halfway through the deed my aunt, raised me, rips a door open, which is positioned about 15 feet directly across the hall from my room and perfect view to my bed. I was so $outstanding scared that I literally sat straight up, one hand under the covers. She saw me and goes, "Hey," and starts walking over. I sat there frozen, like I saw a bus speeding directly at me, but I couldn't move, junk still in hand. She comes in my room and goes, "What's going on, sweetie? Are you okay?" I just awkwardly say, "Yeah. You just scared me." She laughs and sits on the bed next to me, directly on the pillow, and hears a crunch. Looks at me, stands up and picks up the pillow, looks back at me, I'm mortified, and starts walking out. She didn't even turn back to look at me, just grabs the door to shut it and says, "I think you're old enough to sleep with this closed now." I didn't leave my room all day. TLDR, aunt caught me wanking, sat on my lotion bottle, became a big boy. Edit. Thank you for the award. First post that's gotten this much love. Fantastic that it had to be this post. Lol. And for those asking, no, she is not hot. Went to the beach with 3 friends, 2 boys, 1 girl, at some point in late middle school. We were swimming in the ocean and I got knocked down by a huge wave. When I stood up to face my friends, the boys started screaming. I looked down, and there was my left boob on full display. Threw that bathing suit out as soon as I got home. I was in my early 20s, had a girlfriend of 3 years, and we were like 2 years into our relationship. And one time after we had sex I said, and I still don't know what possessed me to say this, "God, this is so embarrassing." I said, "Where are you gonna find this good?" It was so awkward, and I think about it like once a month because it is easily the dumbest thing I have ever said, and it makes me cringe so bad. Someone punched me in the face. This was in school. We were playing a game where one person chased everyone else, and when they touched you, you had to go to jail. That meant you had to put your arms inside the torso part of your sweater, and the sleeves got tied around a pole. You had to get loose to be free again, either on your own or by the help of someone else. I think I was about 11 at the time. I got caught and tied to a pole, but I was wearing a hoodie with a zipper, so I felt incredibly smart when I unzipped it from the inside and ran away shouting HA. Thing is, I had forgotten to put on a t-shirt under the hoodie, and I was an early bloomer, so I basically showed the whole schoolyard my recently grown tits. Shudder. Ran face first into a bench when I was 16 and cried haha. Only one person saw, and of course it was my crush at the time. Oof. I was a bit drunk at a friend's wedding and decided to scroll all over 2 pages of a wedding book to fill up some space. Later someone was looking at the book and I heard them say, "Look at this." What sort of person does that? I still feel bad when I think about it. Definitely that time my professor asked what I did over the summer, and I wanted to say hanging around and catching up with sleep. All I managed to blurt out was sleeping around. That wasn't even true. My sons and their friend kicked their ball into the middle of a little pond at our local park. I let them use my walking stick to try get it out, but they couldn't quite reach. A man passing by with his son offered to help. He got the ball but dropped my stick. As he was reaching for the stick he fell in. He laughed. We laughed and he went off home to dry up. He returned 10 minutes later because once he got home he realized his phone was missing. His phone that contained baby pics of his son and newborn at home. He tried so hard to find that damn phone. I still feel bloody awful. I fell into a fountain. Not once but 3 different times in 3 different fountains. On a trip to Europe with a group of kids from school when I was in 7th grade. Of course my crush and his friends went on this trip and they proceeded to call me Fountain Girl till high school graduation. Touching tongues with my younger sister. We wanted to know why tongues tasted like. So we stuck our tongues out, booped our tongues together, and almost vomited. Edit. Jesus Christ, you guys. I thought I was the only one. Anyway, as a thanks for all the upvotes, I'll share another story. I used to lick cats because I wanted to help clean their fur. I was under 10 years old. Was a kid, 10, in a family vacation in Hong Kong and we were all in a souvenir store. I was walking around with my brother, 9, trying to find a cool toy to buy. It took me long enough to find one. but I was proud that I found it. I was amused by it and started talking about it to him. It was a large, stretchy and bouncy toy that had a cartoonish face on it. I was saying things like, "Wow, this is so cool," and proceeded to make the toy bounce a lot. I brought the toy towards my brother's face and shouted boing boing boing, and that's when I realized that I wasn't talking to my brother anymore. It was a Chinese boy, presumably 10-12 years old. He stared at me with the most serious face ever. I legit felt so ashamed and ran away. I didn't bother to get the toy anymore. I have never been so traumatized in my life that until this day I still think about that Chinese boy's poker face. This guy in one of my classes in 8th grade I was friendly with BC. He didn't seem to be good friends with anyone else in the class. He was a nice kid, just maybe a little awkward, but we had good conversations about lots, so hey. Then one day at the end of the period we were both packing up our stuff and he says, "Hey, do you want to go out with me next Wednesday?" Wasn't interested in him that way, and I was so off guard that I froze like a deer in the headlights until I finally stammered up, "I think my mom has plans, sorry bye," and basically ran out of the room. I still feel bad about it. Every time I saw him in middle school and high school after that I felt terrible. Sorry Colin. I'm a Canadian and we had this show in the 2000s called Radio Free Roscoe. I was obsessed with this show. I watched it religiously on the Family Channel. My aunt had a friend who was a makeup artist for the show, and so she managed to get us on set to meet the cast and visit all the different places. My 11-year-old self was ecstatic. It was the most incredible thing to happen to me. My brother and my cousin went with us. We get to the set and it's amazing and everything I had hoped it would be. We got to see them film a scene and see all the behind the scenes stuff. It was incredible. We went to do the meet and greet with the cast and I was so nervous but excited. I'm an awkward girl and super oblivious, especially when I'm nervous. Kate Todd, the female co-star, was being super sweet with me because I was the only girl in our group. She called me over to sit with her for the photos and used her hand to pat the seat beside her. Being oblivious, I missed the seat pat and went and sat directly on her lap. I'm 27 years old now and I still remember her saying okay in a super surprised voice. I was mortified that I just sat on her damn lap like a baby instead of beside her like she intended. I honestly couldn't look anyone in the eyes again after that. I still cringe to this day thinking about sitting on her damn lap. She was super sweet about it, but I knew I had ducked up. First post. In elementary, the little elementary playground and the older elementary playgrounds were right next to each other and there was an imaginary line we couldn't cross. Me and my friends had the hugest crush on the big kid that played soccer. I was so stupid. I shoved a dodgeball up my shirt and yelled, "Hey, cute big kid, look, you got me pregnant, I have nightmares about it." Luckily he moved away. I've shared this story before, but I still cringe when I think about my first solo date back in high school. I had a huge crush on this girl. Thought she was really cool and I loved her art and I couldn't believe she said yes. We went to the zoo because it was free and we were just broke teenagers and we had a blast. Afterwards we went to grab some food at this place before having to split off to go home. Our trains were heading in the opposite directions and the entrances were across the street from each other. So I walked with her to her side to say goodbye. I closed my eyes and awkwardly leaned in to give her a kiss goodbye, and she went in more for a hug. I ended up headbutting her in the face and her nose started bleeding. I was so embarrassed and didn't know what to say, so I just asked, "Are you okay?" She replied, "I think so." Still not knowing what to do, I just said, "Okay, bye," and then ran across the street to catch my train. It was so painfully awkward and embarrassing. I avoided her for weeks after that. I used to go to a boarding school in India a couple years ago, and annually they would take us out on these 4-5 day field trips. In a particular camping spot that we'd stopped at, the bathrooms were really old. So after a 6-hour bus ride to the camp spot, I'm taking a dump and the bottom half of the bathroom door literally just collapsed and literally everyone waiting in line saw me halfway in the process of eating. There was also this one time in school where the teacher gave us a free lesson and my friend and I were bored, and so we were thumb fighting and the teacher walks by and asked us what we're doing, and I, being the dumbest I was, replied, "Would you STP rack T sing our FNGRENGS kills." My entire class looked at me weird, but I didn't really understand the innuendo until 3 years later, and here we are. So my mom had won this prize at a big shopping center. She was allowed to take 3 guests for a day of shopping that included gift cards at various stores and a $250 gift card at a restaurant of her choice for us to eat at. Anyways, it was a big deal and they had a film crew come and tape some of it for their website. The reporter lady comes up to me when the food arrives and she's like, "That looks fantastic. What did you get?" And I was caught off guard, so I look at the camera and go, "Gift cards." Ultimate cringe, and it took me about half a second to realize what she meant. When I think about it now, at least I can laugh about it. Edited for typos. I accidentally sent implied gay porn to a customer at work instead of a friend. I walked into a pickup game of college volleyball players. Me. Aren't we supposed to spread out in a grid? Rotate each time possession changes? Also me. Getting it over the net with the receive. They were so nice, but this was not gym class volleyball. Edit. Spelling. When I was 11, I was singing a video game rap at the top of my lungs. I thought I was alone. Then my dad yelled from upstairs for me to be quiet. High school play. I start improvising. I don't even know why I did it. I just got so into the moment I forgot there was a script. God, I can't even describe it in complete sentences. I hate me in that moment. Edit. It was gospel, kind of like the Bible but confusing, non-linear and musical, and I was one of the stuck-up priests. When Jesus started talking about God stuff, I was technically supposed to be quiet, but I was all like, "This man commits blasphemy," and I pointed to the crowd, I think. Like, "You heard it. You all heard it." Then when he started talking more, I was like, oh, look at me, I'm Jesus. I have 12 best friends and I don't wear shoes. Apparently that was the bad part. Accidentally called the teacher dad in year 3. I was really quiet and stood up in the middle of class to say something. Finally speaking up. The room was silent. I slowly sat back down. Right. I grew up in an extremely sheltered household, so my brain just didn't know what racism was, and we were trying to pick teams for basketball and I tried to organize by color. I was a stupid child. Ugh, I'm cringing just writing about this. So, I was in kindergarten. We were having a celebration because we had learned how to read by ourselves with almost no help. So, I was wearing shorts that day. Little did I know, they were too big for me. So I was walking. I was excited. I ran. My pants slipped all the way down. My underwear was on display to grades K. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. It was so embarrassing. Haven't worn shorts unless it was 100 since. When my aunt and uncle had a party when I was about 7. They filmed my uncle spitting fire and you can hear me saying you could roast a chicken on that in 10 seconds and then everybody laughs at me. Still cringe thinking about it. Edit. A word. The anonymous Valentine's Day card that I sent to a crush second year of uni, in which I wrote the cringiest poem because I didn't know what else to write. Today actually, at work, one guy was opening a door with his back because his hands were full. Me, being stupid, I thought, I'm gonna help, and opened the door the rest of the way, causing him to lose balance because he didn't see me. He didn't fall, but I smiled at him holding the door with a less than a very welcome more than half smile, and he stared at me like if I was a weirdo. I guess it kinda looked like I tried to make him fall. Ugh. When I was 13/14 I had this crush on a guy who was an asshole, but I guess I just thought he was hot. We were chatting on Snapchat and he told me he thought he liked this other girl, and I started to panic. I sent him a photo of me crying because I was a socially incapable person and I thought that was the best move. He screenshotted it and sent it to 2 girls I hated because I knew they thought I was weird, but now I see that was fair, and they all had a laugh over me crying. But this one was definitely on me. I was a weird kid. My first grade sleepover birthday party. Someone gave me a present shaped like a Barbie, the Barbie rectangle. I told everyone very smugly and rather rudely, bratty, how I knew it was a Barbie even though it's my first Barbie gift ever. Skipper was all I saw as I opened it. Not Barbie like I was expecting. Some knockoff. I got upset. Obviously hated the object of my embarrassment and ripped off her head, and no one really understood why. Turns out, Skipper was just the name of that Barbie model, and I never received another Barbie as a gift ever. Even though I really wanted them, I only ever remembered the embarrassment of my bratty behavior. Then poor behavior over that embarrassment until this question was asked on Reddit before. So it was only recently in my 30s that I even realized. TLDR, I was gifted a literal ducking Barbie and freaked out for absolutely no reason. Never getting a Barbie again because of my 6 years old ego. When I told everyone that I was auditioning for the national talent show in my country and got rejected after singing 2 verses in the producers' auditions, that made for an awkward return to school. Accidentally touching my friend's nuts in 5th grade. We were playing tag. Just one. In high school I messaged a boy I really liked and told him I liked him, and he didn't feel the same way. Okay, fine. No problem. Then we were in the same homecoming group where everyone had dates but the 2 of us, so when it came time to take pictures, we had to stand next to each other as if we were together, lol. Classmate, do you like Linkin Park? Me. IDK. I've never been there.